Welcome to the show, Dane. Would you mind giving the listeners a quick overview of who you are and telling us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, Jamie, thanks for having me. I'm Dane Johnson. I am the owner of a company called Crohn's Colitis Lifestyle, and I got into helping people diagnosed with ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease, inflammatory bowel disease, or irritable bowel syndrome back because I nearly died of the disease, actually. I was diagnosed as a young kid at 19, started getting really bad symptoms. And by the time I was 26, 27, I was fighting for my life from complications of both Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. I had three different doctors diagnosed me with both conditions, which are forms of inflammatory bowel disease. So over the last 10 or 12 years, I was able to reclaim my health, thank God. And I was able to go from a wheelchair, 122 pounds on a feeding tube, two, no medications, no surgeries, no symptoms, 191 pounds, gained about 70 pounds since my lowest. Three kids, running a full-time company, 60 hours a week, traveling the world, eating broad amounts of food, and really what I call building my shield, like protecting myself from that chronic inflammation and restoring these underlying imbalances and hidden pathogens and hidden toxins and epigenetic issues that Mayo Clinic, Cedars-Sinai, and UCLA never told me, never mentioned, had no clue about, that I discovered through all the people before me and all the research and all the reading, and really trying to take my life back because I was told, you have an incurable disease, you'll have this for the rest of your life, you need to cut out your colon and put a bag on your stomach, and that's that, and there's nothing you can do about it. Food doesn't matter. And I disagreed, and I think there's a lot we need to unpack there to help people get free of this terrible disease and these GI issues.
I don't know where to start. First
I
of all,
hope
it's
that
kind of like,
answers your question, Jamie. I
how
hope that
it does
answers.
truly, first of all, it's like, how did you do that? But before we go into that, just for people listening, what is ulcerative colitis and what is Crohn's and how are they different?
Yeah. So there's inflammatory bowel disease. Now, a lot of us have heard of IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. Think Along Came Polly when he eats the spicy food and he's stuck in the toilet, right? Everyone has that visual, that movie back in the early 2000s. So IBS is when you have GI issues that don't show chronic inflammation. So if they do a scope visually through your mouth or through your anus, a colonoscopy or endoscopy, they don't see the inflammation. They check your blood. They don't see the inflammation. They check your calprotectin stool analysis or lactoferrin or eosinophil activation protein, big words for inflammation in the gut. They don't see it, but you're getting diarrhea or constipation or bloating or food sensitivity or multiple bowel movements a day. Inflammatory bowel disease is where they are seeing the inflammation. They're going, whoa, 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 this is no good. Your gut lining is extremely ulcerated, inflamed. It's affecting your ability to absorb nutrients. It's affecting your ability to have a normal bowel movement. It's affecting your ability to digest food. It's causing massive food intolerances. This could increase chances of colorectal cancer. This could end up where it's so bad you get strictures, you get fistulas and fissures, which are like wounds and tunnels in your body that don't heal. So imagine if someone cut you with a knife in your gut and it didn't heal. It was there for years. Or there was an infection that led from your stomach through your buttocks, like a fistula, almost like a tunnel track, an underground tunnel in your body that doesn't heal. So there's all these terrible things that could happen that none of us have heard. It's really known as more of like the hidden disease, because you'll look at someone, you'll see someone, they just look a little skinny maybe, or a little tired, but you can't see it on them. But inside their gut, their body is rotting. It's super inflamed. And so if they can't control that inflammation, the doctors are going to say, we need to do surgery to cut out part or all of, your ileum, or your colon is usually the two places where we're doing that surgery. And then if it's really bad, you'll just have a bag attached to your stomach for the rest of your life. You'll release that fecal matter through that bag, but it will save your life. And so some people really do need it because this can be extreme for a lot of us. And I was told, you need the bag. You need it now. You need it today. Surgeons in the other room. You ready? And I said no. And through saying no, I was young, but it almost killed me. I got so sick they couldn't do the surgery anymore. I was that sick. So I'm just on a mission, Jamie, to raise awareness, to empower people. I'm pro conventional medicine. I'm pro natural medicine. I'm pro results. I'm just a guy who got really sick, took over my 20s, nearly killed me. I was housebound for a year. I had to relearn how to walk. I couldn't eat food, and I'd got my life back. And God gave me a power, and through that journey, that now I believe I have a massive, massive value to help millions of people around the world make sense of this, to simplify life, nutrition, stress, understand these simple body mechanics that are not simple, they're divine, but break them down from this biochemistry doctor point of view into simple layman terms of what can everyday people do to restore their body, get their health back, which is the most important thing. And that's what we're here today. And that's what we're going to dive into and start unlocking some of those truths.
I've not got either of the two diseases. I mean, my best friend does. He has ulcerative colitis, and my cousin has
Hmm.
Crohn's. So I know a
Hmm.
little bit about it through them, but I've not, seen or heard of anyone like yourself kind of fighting the cause and delivering, education around it. So I'm really glad to have you here today. And I'd love to know what are parts of Crohn's or colitis that people don't see.
Well, and they don't see the shame. If you just take the word shame and think of all these shameful scenarios of bathrooms or trying to date or eating out or food fear, it's all of that: bloating, gas, cramping, blood in the stool, mucus, urgency, diarrhea, weight loss, dehydration, anemia. You don't see any of that, and it's debilitating. And, our doctors are so great. They're so good in this country, but they can't help with a lot of this. Here's 40 milligrams of prednisone, taper down slowly. Let's get you on Remicade, Entyvio, Rinvoq, methotrexate, 6-MP, and let's hope for the best. And if it doesn't work, let's have surgery. That's it. That's the
Mm,
options. 17 years old,
mm.
20 years old. That's it.
That's it.
And
One option.
so
That's it.
that's
And so
it.
you, so what
Steroids,
did you?
antibiotics, biologics, and then a steroid, and then a surgery if it doesn't calm down with all those medications. That's it.
And you said no to that, and you
No,
figured
I
out your own
said
path,
yes.
or you said yes? You
Yeah.
said yes.
I
Okay.
said yes. Oh, Jamie, I've been on Entyvio biologic, which is supposed to be on for the rest of your life. Remicade biologic. I've been on 6-MP, methotrexate. I took prednisone for 4 or 5 years. Budesonide, Canasa steroid enemas, mesalamine, sulfasalazine, LDN, Flagyl, Cipro, amoxicillin. I took Dilaudid, Ambient, painkillers, Oxy, whatever. I mean, I didn't go get Oxy off the street. I mean, that was what they were giving me for the pain. I was on morphine that wasn't strong enough, then 3 grams of Dilaudid when I was dying in the hospital. It felt like I was pooping glass 20 times a day. Like, imagine eating glass in its all sharded way and then trying to relieve it through your colon 20 times a day. It's pain. You look down, it's just blood and mucus and maybe a little sediment like sand. And that's like what's called a really bad flare. Your colon is so inflamed, you can't absorb nutrients, you can't break down food. Passing bowel movements is extremely painful. It's like imagine trying to put on a wetsuit after being a burn victim. Yeah. Imagine that. That's like what it is to have a bowel movement when you're that sick. Now I'm scaring a lot of people, but most of us don't get that sick. Thank God I did. And yeah, and that's why I'm here. I think I got so low, and some of those pain points that everyone out there I think really needs to understand is like, and these are the things I looked at. It's like I never met a doctor who actually had Crohn's or colitis or IBD themselves and actually got a life that I wanted. I never met a naturopath or a functional doctor with a chiropractic functional doctor. I never met anyone who had any kind of success with this. The only hope I had were in the books. Elaine Godshaw, Jordan Rubin, Jeannie Patel Thompson, Listen to Your Gut, Patient Heal Thyself, Maker's Diet, Breaking the that was it. That was it. That was all I found. And that was, back in 2009, 2011, 2014. I mean, it was rough. So anyways, that's what, Crohn's and colitis is. That's kind of a little dip into the world of that experience. And it wasn't that bad, Jamie. At first, it was kind of okay, kind of bad. Left-sided ulcerative colitis, 7 centimeters. 8, 10 years later, when you have root issues that are not being fixed and you just throw a biologic or a steroid at it, they can fester. Especially if you keep drinking alcohol and you keep eating high fructose corn syrup and you keep having emulsifiers and you keep eating, gluten sprayed in glyphosate and bleached. That's destroying, and you keep on the antibiotics. They kept giving me the antibiotics. That's going to destroy your own ecosystem, your shield. So that kind of led me to this standstill moment. I think a lot of us get to these points in life where we suffer. And then there's this breaking moment. This is either going to be the worst thing that ever happened to me, or it's going to be the best thing that ever happened to me. And everyone listening, I want you to make a conscious decision right there on that. Yeah. It's going to be one or the other. There is no in between when you get really sick with an incurable disease and the doctor's enrolling you and stamping you on the forehead that you've got this disease that was basically created in the 1950s and that no one in your family probably had, and it just came out of nowhere, and better luck next life.
Tell me
You
more
either,
about that. Talk to me more about that. Is it food based? I was going to ask you,
well, they're theories, right?
where does it come from, right? Is it stress? I've got, let me hear from you. What?
Well, this is the game we play. We say that nothing's true unless we have double-blind, placebo-controlled studies that have $100 million behind it to actually say it's true. That's why the doctors get away with saying food doesn't matter. What they're really saying is there's no clinical research to suggest that food will cure Crohn's and colitis. There is so much crap in that statement. There is so much just you have to get past that. First of all, you have to understand that if I eat better, can it help me? Yes. If I eat worse, can it hurt me? Yes. So why would I eat crap? And anyone who's eat cleaner will go back to the doctor and say, Doc, I just went from 12 bowel movements with an 8 out of 10 pain to a 6 out of 10 pain with 7 bowel movements. Is there a correlation? Doctor goes, well, there's no research to show that it can heal Crohn's and colitis. Correlation? Are you kidding me? I just got symptom relief. So there's that problem. Number one, it's obvious. Eating real food from the earth matters. Eating toxic man-made chemicals that are bleached and chlorinated and full of toxins and full of emulsifiers like polysorbate 80 and red dye and glyphosate and all this stuff is going to hurt your body. It's just common sense. We don't need any more research to show it. It's common sense.
Chemicals, it's man-made, it's fiction,
Yeah.
it's made up. It's not food your grandmother would recognize.
And so I say we don't need to get double-blind placebo-controlled studies with $100 million to show you that glyphosate is bad and antibiotics are bad and, beer that's very high in glyphosate yeast and alcohol is bad if you have inflammatory bowel disease. We know that alcohol causes inflammation in the body. It's common sense. We have to get past this idea and get to common sense. But the research also shows us that glyphosate does this. The research shows us that things like polysorbate 80 can destroy the gut lining, okay? These emulsifiers in Jif and ice cream. So and the other problem is the idea of cure. So one of my favorite questions, I want you, if you've out there and you've had a doctor give you the label of an incurable disease, I want you to retort and ask the doctor this one question and say, doctor, can you name me one thing on this planet that is curable? The idea of cure means it's eradicated, it'll never come back. You're telling me you're never going to get a headache again? You're never going to get gingivitis? What happens if you stop brushing your teeth? Your gingivitis is going to come out of remission and it's going to flare. The only reason we're all...
It's preventative.
Yeah, it's preventative. Right. Our whole life is preventative. Right. What happens if you sit on the couch and you never eat a solid food again? Did cancer just come? Was it in remission? So this whole idea is this stuckness of pain and trauma, this identity and this perspective of truth. You can't cure anything. If you stop saying I love you, divorce is going to come out of remission and flare. It's like, if you stop living in balance, we become imbalanced. That's the answer there. So, now let's get into this. I'd love to get into more about the hard facts of Crohn's and colitis. So we have this idea of IBD. It's chronic, incurable, supposedly inflammation that we don't know what causes it. IBD equals IDK. If the doctor came to us and said, look, you've got chronic inflammation in the bowel. We don't know what's causing it. We've got antibiotics, steroids, biologics, and surgery. Do you want any? We would have gone, well, thank you, doctor. Those could be useful, and I might need them. They saved my life. But that's going to now open my mind to start looking elsewhere and start saying, does it make sense? Food? Does that? And that's where I can start looking at the 5 imbalances. Anyone who wants to fix their gut, this is it. This is what you got to fix in layman's terms, okay? 5 imbalances to fix your gut, fix your body with any autoimmune disease, but this is primarily focused on Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, or IBS. Number 1, digestion. You have poor digestive ability. Liver, pancreatic enzymes, stomach acid. You have inability to break down food. You're getting more bloating, more gas, and more food sensitivity. You're not allergic, you're sensitive. That's why you can't have salads and you're seeing undigested food in the stool. Number 2 is microbiome imbalance. We all know what the microbiome is. We've heard about it. It is the city of bacteria that has a communication network between fungi and bacteria in your own cells. If it's out of balance, those imbalances become pathogenic and inflammatory. And 70% of your immune system lives in the gut. So if you have imbalances in the microbiome, you're going to have autoimmune reactions more likely. Cytokine reactions, they call them. That's why they put you on TNF alpha blockers like Remicade. It's a cytokine blocker. That's being released by the T cells in the gut lining when the body is being damaged. So when you have imbalances, you get small intestine bacteria overgrowth. You get small intestine fungal overgrowth. You get colonic dysbiosis. The ileum gets overwhelmed with toxins. A lot of people with Crohn's disease, they have the ileum. They're telling them they cut out the ileum and the ileum becomes a main problem. Ulcerative colitis, you get imbalances in there. You have low short-chain fatty acids, low microbiome. You tend to get infections like hidden Epstein-Barr virus, cytomegalovirus, herpes simplex virus. You get hidden overgrowth of candida caused candidiasis. You get other bacteria that are pathogenic, releasing what's called lipopolysaccharides, extremely inflammatory in the body, leads to all disease. Okay, Dr. Tom O'Brien tells us all about it. LPS, lipopolysaccharides, right? So it's this cascade. The microbiome's imbalanced. Number 3 is going to be the gut lining. You have a weakened gut. Right behind it is the immune system. We've all heard of leaky gut. The damaged epithelial cell lining is allowing undigested food, lipopolysaccharides, and other toxins to get into the bloodstream. It's causing systemic issues. That's why we're getting arthritis, headaches, eye pain. We're getting chronic acne. I was covered in acne. And it was like, oh, wait a minute. Maybe all these toxins from my gut are leaking into my bloodstream. My liver's overwhelmed. That's why 30% of people diagnosed with IBD end up with a liver disease. And that's also causing all this chronic cystic acne that I'm scrubbing every day with bleach called Neutrogena. And it's not getting better because it's an internal problem. I could literally run Neutrogena ads on how many people have helped clear their skin, massive skin issues, massive 20-year-long skin issues, because I fixed the liver, I sealed the gut lining, I rebalanced the microbiome, and I optimized their digestion, which is your main force field to block bacterial infections, viruses, and parasites. Low stomach acid, you're more susceptible. Fourth one, okay, drainage pathways. Almost anyone with autoimmune disease, I can guarantee that your body cannot genetically handle the toxins in this man-made environment, air, food, and water. Chemicals mean man-made, not God-made. Your body can't properly detox them. They get overwhelmed in the body. They stay in the fat tissue. They go in intracellular. They cause mitochondrial dysfunction, metabolic syndrome. They cause, all sorts of liver issues, blood issues, and you develop these crazy new diseases. That's why we have all these new diseases that didn't even exist 75 years ago. And a lot of us just genetically can't get rid of it. MTHFR, HLA-DQ gene, the COMT, faster, slow gene. And so now you have people who don't have natural glutathione levels, right? Antioxidants and detox pathways. 5 detox pathways they have to know in these imbalances is going to be the liver, kidneys, the ability to poop, the ability to sweat, okay, and the lymphatic system. Now, you could also show intercellular toxins, the bonus one. So cell tox. Check out Dr. Dan Pompa. He talks all about that, right? That's his big thing is cellular detox. So you can't detox toxins, air, food, and water. And so that goes back to the food thing we were talking about. That goes back to, you have mold in your house. Are you breathing in vanilla candles that are just voluntary organic compounds filled with crap that your liver and your cells can't handle? And you're sick with IBD. You need to stop it. The fifth imbalance, that physiological imbalance with all disease we all have to understand in layman's terms, is the nervous system. The nervous system in layman's terms is your body's perspective and how it absorbs your truth. Okay? If you are in pain, if you are angry, if you were upset, if you were a victim, if your life is too hard, you are stuck in a chronic sympathetic state, you are pumping adrenaline and cortisol through your body, which is causing adrenal fatigue. It's messing up your metabolics, it's messing up your mitochondria, it's messing up your sleep, and you are living in a stressed out state. How many people have said that through prayer and purpose and meditation, they were able to heal themselves? That's that part of the imbalance that they're fixing, and then their body is recovering. You can take every supplement, you can do every functional lab test, you can do stem cells, you can do peptides, you can do exosomes, you can do natural killer cell therapy. If you don't get your nervous system calm and in balance, you're going to stay sick. Okay? The body just can't work in that regards, and stress is going to weaken the immune system. You fix those 5 imbalances, you're going to help optimize the immune system, okay? And the autoimmune condition is going to start balancing because those are the imbalances to your physiological body that the doctors aren't telling us. If we'd have walked in and said, you got chronic inflammation, I bet you have poor digestion. I bet your microbiome's in a balance with underlying root pathogens and overgrowth. I bet your liver's not functioning properly. I bet you got leaky gut with high zonulin. I bet you've got, dysfunctioning detox pathways and you're probably clogged up. If I do a urine analysis, I bet I find mold or environmental toxins or something in you that I need to help your body release through things like NAC, glycine, milk thistle, dandelion root, binders like carbon technology from Cellcore, fulvic acid, humic acid, bentonite clay, chlorophyll, sun chlorella. Like there's just so much that I found that no one ever told me. And I know I just said so much that everyone's going, what? Calm down, slow down, Dane. What did he say? Tell me more about those things. But I just wanted to brain dump on everyone. If I gave you 5 minutes on how to heal, look at those 5 and just start brain dumping on all 5 and you are going to get massive results.
You were on a feeding tube at one point, right? How did you go from that to gaining 60 pounds of muscle?
Yeah. And it wasn't easy and it wasn't quick and it wasn't a magic pill. Okay. I think the biggest thing we're suffering from in society is called MPS, Magic Protocol Syndrome. It's actually the biggest disease, is that we're out looking there and we're looking to almost be a cult of joining a food army or joining a supplement army or joining some kind of just nervous system army. You like German New Medicine, for example. It's like all those things are really good, but you're taking them out of context. It's not one thing that will heal you, it's everything combined. So when I finally got sick, what saved me, Jamie, is I already had 3 or 4 years of experience with natural functional medicine. I'd already been trying, Jamie. So people think I healed quickly. I did not.
Give me a little timeline, sort of 19.
So 19 started getting blood in the stool, cramping pain, urgency. 22-ish diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. Then 23 more severe ulcerative colitis. 24 Crohn's disease. 25 doctors saying not agreeing with the diagnosis, ulcerative colitis with gastritis or Crohn's disease or whatever. 26 under lots of stress. Things start happening. My body just freaks out after I've already done restrictive eating. I've done fasting, made my own homemade yogurts. I've taken probiotics. I've done SED diet. I've done carnivore paleo stuff. Body starts freaking out. I was actually doing a job up in Santa Barbara and I was just having severe cold sweats. I was losing my vision. I was going to the bathroom like 15 times a day. I drove myself to the hospital. I stayed at that hospital for a month. When I was 26, that was 2014. I nearly died in that hospital. My family flew out. That's when they put me on after about 3 weeks in the hospital, they put me on a feeding tube. And I know I was intravenous prednisone, intravenous antibiotics, and intravenous Dilaudid, which is 7 times stronger than morphine. So I'm on opioids. I'm on heroin. I'm on legal heroin for like weeks on end. And then they gave me the antiviral chemotherapy that saved my life because one of the root issues that ended up making me so sick, because most people with IBD don't get as sick as I did, was an opportunistic viral load called cytomegalovirus had taken over my body and was killing me. And I had to go on an antiviral chemotherapy to knock that out. And then my body started recovering. So after about a month in the hospital, I checked myself out voluntarily. There's nothing more they could do for me. And I was in a wheelchair and I was already been on the feeding tube. I came off the feeding tube as I got on the chemo. And then I was housebound for a year, bed rested for 3 months. And then about 6 months, and then about 9 months in, I started riding my bike to the grocery store, or like doing walks around the house and like working on my ability to like get rid of the trauma and feel like I can walk outside the house and I have this strength and capability and I don't need to be like, someone watching over me every 5 seconds. So about 9 months, and then 12 or 13 months, I started working again. And, this was 15 years ago or something, no, 12 years ago, something like that. And yeah. And then that's a whole other story. But yeah, and then from there, I doubled down on studying naturopathic medicine, functional medicine, Eastern medicine, and I just kept learning and growing. And after a year, I was 180 pounds. And we can talk about how I did it, but it was a lot of what we were talking about, but I can give you more color and context. But after that year, I willingly got myself off of the medications because just me personally, my spirit, I just didn't want to be on them, Jamie. And I was falling in love with this building, like I'm the CEO of my health, I'm my own best doctor. I'd really fall in love with that. And I was like, I can't really know if I can do this while I'm infusing immunosuppressants that may cause cancer themselves. I just did the pro and con. I was like, you're telling me this increases lymphoma and tuberculosis. You're telling me I have to be on this for the next 50 years. I'm 25, 26. And you're worried that there's just inflammation that could cause cancer if I don't get rid of the inflammation. It's like, I looked at the weight of it and I said, you know what? Let me just rock this because I'm like, this is my number one priority. And over that year, I really divorced Western world and really went towards a whole new way of living, like a cat out of the bag, whole new way of living. Biggest takeaways for getting results, okay? In that year, I got happy before I got healthy. 4 years prior, I was miserable trying to take supplements, herbs, and eat restrictive eating because some doctor told me to, okay? Number 2, no one was going to heal me as good as I could heal me. Anyone I worked with was a partner, but I led. When you change that mindset, I come into that doctor's office with pen and paper. Functional doctor. Here's some rules. I don't take a thing that I don't agree with, and I can't write 1 or 2 sentences in simple terms on why I'm taking it. Not a supplement, not an herb, not a food. Okay? If I can't write 1 or 2 sentences in layman's terms, and you can't explain it to me in layman's terms, you don't know what you're talking about. Okay? Because I believe if you really know, you should be able to teach a 6th grader. So I call it solving supplements. Everything's got to make sense for me. I don't do things because they make sense generally for functional medicine. Like someone's like, oh, you should go on high dose vitamin C. It's really good for your immune system. Yeah, that also could cause diarrhea and cause a spastic colon, which is one of my main problems. No, I'm not going on high dose vitamin C. Right. Okay. Maybe later on when my body's more ready. Like everything had to make sense. Oh, you should go on a multi-strain probiotic. Well, I'm getting such a Herxheimer reaction to lactobacillus strains, and I get really bad histamine reactions because my body cannot properly detox. I can't handle lactobacillus reuteri right now. I can't handle homemade yogurts right now. I can't handle lactobacillus acidophilus. So through my research and becoming the CEO of my health, everything had to make sense, and I had to have a why for everything I did. And it was my plan, not the plan. That's the big third thing. I stopped trying to do the paleo diet, the carnivore diet, the 100 bananas a day diet. I built my answer. I call my program Shield. I built my shield, not the shield. 4 years prior, I was just trying to bow down to someone else's book of how to do things. Like, let me just do everything they say to a T. And there was such a value in that when I did it because I learned so much. But when I finally got real results, I actually mixed all these theories together. I coined something I call food philosophy. It is the idea of eliminating a diet and building your own customized nutrition plan for you. And the biggest goal is to be able to assess the risk of food. If you look at diets, 90% of the book is why you shouldn't eat something, and 10% of the book is what you should eat. Okay. So you just need to really understand why they're telling you not to eat certain things. Look at Against All Grain. Look at paleo, all about polysaccharides, all about natural plant defenses, the oxalates, the lectins, right? Your body can't handle all this stuff. The germ is too heavy. That's why you do white rice instead of brown rice. Everyone's starting to. So I said, what is most people starting to agree with? Let me start labeling and understanding all these different problems. And how does that make sense where I can get 2,000 calories a day? I can start working up to 100 grams plus of protein or amino acids to help rebuild all this muscle and gain this weight. How is my body actually responding with it? How do I create increased bioavailability? So one of the obvious ones is like everyone's telling you, be careful of complex carbohydrates found in grains, bakery, breads. So I said, okay, let's focus on monosaccharides, which is fruit, which you're going to hear from David Klein in Self-Healing Crohn's Colitis. But Gundry with the lectins is saying no fruit. Well, I said, Gundry, I'm keeping the fruit. I hear you on the pressure cooking. Great. And so I looked at everyone. As a CEO, I listened to everyone's arguments. I tested them on myself, which is the fifth thing I did. CEO of your health, you should be journaling 5 minutes morning and night if you're serious about healing. If you're not journaling, you're not serious about healing, in my opinion. So it took me 4 years to get serious by healing. That's why I say it took me 4 years to get serious because I never was willing to sit down for 5 minutes and own my plan and track my plan and look at the variables, every single week. But then I just started looking at it, and I interviewed Gundry twice, and it was like, he said so many things. I was like, that was brilliant, man. Brilliant. I completely agree. In my instincts, in my life, I'm going to do that. That's right. And then he would say something about fruit or something else, and I go, nah, you can keep that one. You keep that one. I just learned to cherry pick. Everyone, stop looking for some kind of leader or cult leader. Follow your intuition. Be your own best doctor. Build your shield, not the shield, and cherry pick. And when I started cherry picking, Jamie, all of a sudden I'm 183 pounds. I'm back to a 290-pound bench press. I can run 3 or 4 miles. I'm not on any medications. My colonoscopy, sigmoidoscopy is showing 90% better than on the medications. And so was it easy? No. Was it linear? No. So I would go and I'd get some results and I'd get stuck. And then I had to reformulate, tweak, go another few weeks go by. And all of a sudden I get a breakthrough. Okay, another 20%, 30%. I mean, I remember 6 months in, I'm 148 pounds with 5 to 7 bowel movements a day with a 1 out of 10 blood, bad. 10 out of 10 was where I was, like bad. So I'd rate all my symptoms every day. So now Dr. Dane's going, I'm a 1 out of 10 blood, 4 to 6 bowel movements. I'm from 122 to 148. My electrolytes are there where I'm not getting dizzy and fainting and cracking my head open, which I did in the past. So I now have a control. I have an understanding of where I am. But then I was stuck. I was like, I can't eat more food because it's making me inflamed. I'm kind of stuck. And I kept looking and looking. And then all of a sudden I was talking with one of my naturopath professors and he was like, have you ever tried this binder called bentonite clay? And I was like, what the heck is that? I've never even heard of that. This is like 15 years ago, 13 years. And then he drives over to my house, right? And he's like showing me, he's like, man, this stuff. And then he showed me a little bit of psyllium husk. Yeah. And he's like,
Silly enough. The clay, that's like that clay you can put on your face with apple cider vinegar to pull the pores skin, right?
But they make medical grade versions of this volcanic ash that binds to toxins in your gut. One of the biggest problems with people with, especially your buddy with ulcerative colitis, I bet you, I can almost guarantee his colon can't evacuate toxins. He's overtoxic and he keeps spewing toxin. And he can't eat
He's having
because
flare-ups and surgery. He's had I can't tell you how many surgeries.
Well, and psyllium husk for some people with strictures or constipation or any narrowing or really inflamed might cause a little bit more bleeding. So be careful because it bulks. But it's a soluble fiber. So it also started waking me up to the whole idea of fiber. Like fiber is another one in plants that everyone's arguing about. Well, if you have IBD or IBS and you want to start increasing your fiber, you have to 100% start with high soluble fiber foods, no insoluble fiber. Soluble fiber just means it absorbs water. If you throw that something into a pond and it absorbs the water and sinks, that's soluble. If it floats in the water down the river, then that's insoluble. So if I throw spinach on top of a river, what's it going to do, Jamie?
Float,
It's going to float. If I throw a sponge into a river, what's it going to do?
absorb, and sink.
That's it. So let's put it in layman's terms. If you can't squish it and water doesn't come out, then you shouldn't be eating it. So you want to get rid of insoluble fiber. It tears up an injured gut. So psyllium husk is a really powerful soluble fiber. You take a teaspoon of psyllium husk, you put it in 10 ounces of water, stir it up, leave it there for a minute, it'll become a solid. All right. So what it was doing is I had a volcanic ash that a little bit could bind to all these toxins, and I did it at night. And all of a sudden I started having these bowel movements. And I'd see these almost like these plugs where the ulcerations, like the bowel movement would be oddly formed because of all these deep ulcerations in my colon that the clay and the psyllium husk was starting to grab and clean out and then plug. So
Wow.
it was almost like I was like cleaning a wound on my skin internally. It was unbelievable. I was like, my God, the blood's down. I started getting better formation. And I had this relief. You know, when you have a bowel movement like a normal person, you feel it coming and it all comes out. And then you feel this sense of emptiness and you feel this sense of relief and you get this natural dopamine hit and you're like, oh, I'm done. You ever been really sick where you have some come out and you're like, I'm not done and I kind of need to go 2 or 3 more times? That ever happened to you?
Hmm.
Okay. IBD, it's like 20 times every day for years. Okay. Unless the flare comes up and down. So it's like, it was the first time I started feeling like the sense of like a foreign bowel movement going through and relieving me. So that's called a binding agent. One of the core problems with ulcerative colitis is you cannot release toxins from the colon. And ulcerative colitis can almost bet your buddy's got low stomach acid, 5 physiological. He's got low stomach acid. He can't break down food. I bet he's petrified of salads. Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't eat whenever we have a barbecue or anything. He's like, I
Chicken,
can't touch.
yeah. He's going to have maybe a little bit of chicken and he's going to have maybe a little bit of white rice and maybe like a piece of a banana. Okay. Low fiber, low residue, very soft, very easy, low transit time because the gut is so injured. It's like if you had a bad knee, Jamie, and you didn't know how to fix your knee, and I wanted you to go on a walk with me or play basketball. You're going to go, no. Because I'm going to literally rip my ACL doing that. Okay. And he's just chronically stuck in that. So what I did is I fixed my knee metaphorically. Okay. Almost everyone with IBD, you got poor digestion, as we said. You got microbiome imbalances, leaky gut, nervous system imbalances, and you have crappy drainage pathways. Like almost anyone with cancer usually has bad drainage. Like you need to become an expert at these things. And it's all teachable. It's all learnable. And you can do it all at home. It doesn't have to cost $1 million. I've worked with people who've already spent $1 million on their health and gotten tremendous results for almost none of that money, for a few $1,000s.
Is this information hidden?
Jamie, it's all out there. It's just hard to understand. No one's put it in layman's terms, and we don't know who to trust, as you said. And it's capitalism. Like health and money don't mix, man. It's oil and water. We got to be careful with that. And I'm in that boat, and I'm very careful. I think something that saves me is my mom was that mom. My dad was that dad. I was that kid. And so I just am very aware of what we're doing when we talk about that. I think everyone's coming at a different angle and there's so much information. We're just overwhelmed with information and we're lost in action.
What is something that you believed about health at the beginning of your journey that you completely disagree with now?
The biggest thing that I disagree with now is that someone else has to heal me in order for me to heal, that it's someone else's job to heal me, a doctor, even God who has the capability of doing that, or my mom or my dad or anyone outside of myself. The biggest change is that I realize that no one is going to come to save us and truly heal us, and that you have to be the CEO of your health. And you've got to take these complicated ideas and you got to make them simple. You got to be able to integrate them in a way that's balanced. You got to get consistent. You got to face the idea of being overwhelmed and get past that. And you've got to build your answer, not the answer. And if you can just take that on and just own your health and just believe in your intuition, have that faith and build your dream way of living, your body's going to get healthier because your body heals you, not the supplement, not the medication, not the surgery, but your body is the true healer. So let that lead and use your mind and spirit to support it. So The biggest thing that we want here, Jamie, that's a takeaway, is just realize that all these complicated things we can start simplifying for us. And how you look through the fog of misinformation and too much information and everyone saying different things is you've got to make your intuition the answer. You've got to be creative. You've got to use your imagination and you've got to follow your intuition because your body knows. So trust in that. I think the lack of confidence of putting your health and your decisions in other people's hands is a problem. You should only be getting any kind of advice from people that you have confidence in, that you believe are trustworthy and have your best interest at heart. So you become the best answer for yourself and simplify it. Okay. Success is always to make it simple, but it's hard. So your goal is to take something hard and make it simple. So as you're researching and as you're learning, get a pen and paper out. And if you read something you like, write it down and journal every day what you actually did. Because until you know what you're doing and you get consistent with that, any new information about a supplement or a peptide or the nervous system won't be usable. Right now, the biggest problem is you're getting 100 things that sound great, but you're integrating almost none of them. And when you do integrate them, you're only lasting 1 day or 4 days before you give up and there's something else to try. And so there's no consistency. There's no building of your intuition. There's no self-accountability. And the biggest thing I want to let you know is I didn't know half of what I know now when I actually healed. I didn't have the resources. I didn't have all that money, Jamie. I didn't have the stem cells and I didn't know all this stuff about biohacking and all functional medicine. What I had is I got happy. I made myself the CEO of my health. I only ate what I cooked for 35 days or 75 days straight. I journaled every single day. I got in the sun. I did earthing. I did prayer and purpose. I did essential oils. I prayed. I got faithful. I got in peace. I got real vitamin D from the sun. And there's so much that is already here on this earth that is ready for you to heal. And once you build that foundation, guys, you can always add in that supplement. You can always add in that food. You can always make that tweak. For the rest of your life, you're going to be working on being healthy. So fall in love with the process, build your foundation, and watch how you get healthier than healthy people. Watch as you don't just try to survive. Watch as you thrive. Watch as other people who look down on you and had pity for you because you got sick and diagnosed with an incurable disease, and watch as you become healthier than them. Watch as they start asking advice from you on how to get rid of bloating and cramping. Watch as you start to become a leader and you become valuable for your children, your parents, your loved ones, because you went through that pain that turned into purpose. You were not diagnosed with an incurable disease. You were diagnosed with a purpose to live your best life. Let this be a catalyst to be the best thing that ever happened to you, because you're coming to the fork in the road. It's going to be the best or it's going to be the worst. Your choice. You become the CEO. You take that journaling seriously. You take massive action. You simplify it, and you can always stack later. You will get results. Get the community, get the leadership, get the coach, get the team that's going to help you build your best life. That's what real friends are. That's what best friends are. If I can be that for you, I will always make a stand for you. But make sure, if it's me or anyone, that they earn your trust and they come with you with integrity. You need those two things to get massive results with anyone you partner with.
Dane, thank you so much. Your energy is contagious. I would love to give you the opportunity to share your work online. Is there somewhere that people can find you?
Yeah, Crohn's Colitis Lifestyle is us, and we work all around the world, Dubai, India, even Canada, all mostly the US, all around Europe. And we help build customized solutions for inflammatory bowel disease or IBS. And check us out. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, or website, crohnscolitislifestyle.com. And if you are someone who's just struggling or your loved one is struggling, just book a free hour session with our team. We want to hold that space because, again, we need to feel good about who we are with anyone we work with. And everything we do is customized. All we do is private coaching. We don't just do generic plans. And if we can support you and it's a good fit, we're here and we're happy to help. And healing is possible.